interested in reading the CIA documents for yourself, go to CIA.gov and scroll all the way down. You're going to click Freedom of Information Act, and it's going to bring you to the search bar. In the search bar, you can type for anything that you want. There are so many documents. I always look under Stargate plus whatever topic it is that I'm searching, because most of the topics are under their psychic research program, Stargate. So you can see I type in Stargate plus psychic plus ESP, and that essentially narrows down the search to pretty much exactly what I'm looking for. Then you click on the title and it's going to bring you to like a PDF attachment. You're going to click that and that's where the documents are. Happy reading!
As some of you may already know, the CIA has thousands of declassified documents that anybody can just get online and read. And these are not weak reports. These reports were so crazy to me that I had to stop and make sure I was actually on the CIA website and not looking up creepypastas. Now, there are well-documented reports of UFO sightings, alien sightings, and even alien abduction. But their declassified reports on paranormal things and superhuman abilities are just as crazy, if not crazier. For example, in one of these unclassified documents, it talks about how they had to investigate a man who was able to heal people by just touching them. What was stranger than the claim of this man being able to do this was that they had a scientific explanation explaining how this man was able to do this. Basically saying that there's an electromagnetic field around each human being that's able to be controlled through emotion. If you guys want me to talk about more declassified documents, leave a like and let me know in the comments.
UFO squadron seen in San Diego and Tijuana. On September 19, 2022, citizens of San Diego, California and Tijuana, Mexico recorded a squadron of UFOs in the night sky. Witnesses claim 5 lights hovered for roughly 25 minutes before disappearing. What is peculiar about this incident is that the lights do not follow a flare pattern, and the military has denied this as a military exercise. Why has there been such an increase in sightings with multiple UFOs involved? Could this mean, are they really here?
Operation to destroy evidence of Britain's colonial abuses took place during the Queen's reign. Operation Legacy was a secret British Colonial Office program that ran from the 1950s to the 1970s. It was in full swing during Queen Elizabeth II's reign. Its operatives were told to destroy any documents from the colonies that showed religious or racial bias and could tarnish the British Empire's legacy. Her Majesty's government officials at MI5 took thousands of files from the colonies and burned them, dumped them in the ocean, or hid them illegally to protect their secrets from future historians and from us. Some of those hidden files came to light in 2013 when 5,000 Kenyans who were abused and tortured in a colonial-era rebellion received an apology and a £20 million payout from the British government. But it soon became clear that the most damning material had been destroyed. Historians say Operation Legacy was intended to ensure the whitewashing of British colonial history and hide imperial crimes committed on 1/4 of the world. If those documents still existed, reparations to former colonies would have been a clear-cut process.
I'm not gonna lie, I don't know if y'all ready for this one. Let's dig deep into Area 51. So we know that most people feel that Area 51 is a place where they experiment, dissect, and hold aliens. But my question is, why and how are they capturing them? If they know that these beings are highly intelligent, why not learn from them? Now we know that there's a special part of the G-Myth that handles these situations, aka the Illuminati, the Cabal, the Shadow G-Myth, whatever they call them, the ones in charge of putting the veil over our head. Just like there are good and bad people on Earth, there are good and bad aliens. The ones who want to keep planets at low vibrations take over them. But you also have good ones who want to bring knowledge, peace, and information. That's how some people think the Egyptians built the pyramids with their help. Now, a lot of people have said that these bad ETs have infiltrated our government already, aka why you see shapeshifters and all that. Why do millions of people get kidnapped? Why does trafficking happen? Why is there so many low vibrational things happening on this planet? To keep it under the control of these beings. Now, if they're working together, what is the reason for Area 51? Probably to lock the good aliens up who are trying to help this planet, so this matrix can still keep running. I know y'all have seen the sky turning green. Rainbows being shown everywhere. Now in Norse mythology, rainbows represent the gateway to different planets. What if all these rainbows in the sky changing means that these beings are coming back to help us? And it's Area 51's job with the help of these grays, the Pleiadian race, to lock up these high vibrational beings when they come down. That's why when people spot them, the G-Man tries to cover it up and say, oh, they're just conspiracy theorists. But just know that more of the good ones are coming. Just pay attention to the sky and stay dangerous.
Hiding its UFO research program in plain sight, and I'm going to show you where. Okay, Jack, when I say the Pentagon, what do you think of?
A building that's five-sided.
Pretty big. In fact, it's 6.5 million acres, all right? It's the world's largest office building, and there's 23,000 people working there, and guess what some of them are working on? UFO research. With 17.5 miles of hallway, I think you can probably hide a UFO program in there. 5 levels, 2 basements. Why do you need 2 basements? I think to hide a UFO program. So the government...
6 interesting facts about Area 51. The first one is it started with Robert Lazar. This guy actually said that he went to Caltech, which gave him the knowledge that he needed to use when he was working at Area 51 to dissect these things. The second fact is actually that the government hid Area 51 up until 2013. That was the first year that they went out and said, yes, this place existed, but that's because they were forced to. The third fact is that the U.S. actually tried to rebrand Area 51, and they started calling it Paradise Ranch and said, hey, look everybody, everything is normal. In 2019, Matty Roberts created a Facebook event, Area 51 Raid. So what started as a joke ended up turning viral, with more than 2 million people check that they're going and 1.5 million people say they're interested. The sixth fact that I have for you guys is the actual best place to spot UFOs at Area 51 is a mailbox.
What?
Yes.
If you know me, you know that I don't trust the government. Well, today I wanted to give you a reason not to trust your government. Ever heard of Operation Northwoods? If you haven't heard of Operation Northwoods, sit down. This is gonna get crazy really fast. This is essentially a bunch of false flag attack events that they would do on the American people to convince the American people to kill people in Cuba. When I started looking, I cannot believe this is just like a Google search. I did this on Google. Read this. But thankfully, our boy JFK came through and was like, hell no, dude. I'm not gonna kill a bunch of people to go kill more people. Like, are you nuts? And tell that dude he's fired. The more you know, though, right? Great place to be.
Neil Armstrong searched for ancient alien library in the Amazon rainforest. After being the first man on the moon during the Apollo 11 mission, Neil Armstrong returned to Earth a changed man. Allegedly, while on the moon, Armstrong switched to a private comms channel and stated they're on the edge of the crater and they're watching us. Some believe Armstrong was referring to extraterrestrial beings. When he returned to Earth, Armstrong set off on an expedition to find a rumored ancient library deep in the Amazon. Some believe the library contains secret knowledge about advanced technologies from a distant star system, inscribed in ancient symbols. While down in the cave system, Armstrong and his team noticed the walls and corners to be unusually flat with straight walls and right angles, as if man-made. Armstrong never found the library, but discovered a 3,500-year-old tomb. Why was Neil Armstrong looking for this lost library? What did he see on the Apollo 11 mission? Are they really here?
Most disturbing declassified government documents. This picture contains a list of declassified documents from the least disturbing to the most. This is 40%. Every video I go up, the videos will get worse and worse, so make sure to like and follow to keep up. This is telepathic rabbits. This was a Soviet experiment that studied the idea of telepathy. If you aren't familiar with what telepathy is, it's the communication of thoughts or ideas by means other than the unknown senses. For example, speaking to a psychic. So the Soviets took a mother rabbit and 9 of her babies and placed each of them in a different room. Then placed what's known as an EKG machine on top of the mother rabbit to study her brain signals. They noticed each time they euthanized one of the babies, the mother rabbit's brain signals would start spiking almost instantly. And this kept happening one after another, minutes to hours apart. For some reason, this mother knew when her babies were dying. So Soviets believed they'd proven the idea of telepathy, and they wanted to use this for war plans. On top of studying war plans, they wanted to figure out how the rabbit did this, so that way they could put it inside of the human brain, so that way we would be able to mind control our enemy. This is just one of the many experiments. I just created a 15-minute YouTube video going over every single one of these, so if you're impatient and you don't want to wait for tomorrow, click the link in the bio to check it out for yourself. Most disturbing declassified government documents. This picture contains a list of declassified documents from the least disturbing to the most. This is 30%. Every single video I go up, it will get worse and worse, so make sure to like and follow for more videos. Hey guys, I haven't posted in like a month because I got banned, and I just got unbanned, so let's get right back into it. Also, really quick, I wanted to give a huge shout out to Sangria Señorial for being my first sponsor back. Follow them down below and click the link in my bio to purchase one for yourself. All sponsoring aside, it's a genuinely good product. Now back to the video. This is the Acoustic Kitty. This project was launched in the 1960s in order to spy on Russian embassies using a cat. Pretty much the whole purpose of this project was to spy on high-ranking officials. They did a procedure which took about an hour where they implanted a microphone into the ear canal. They attached a small radio transmitter and hid a thin wire in the fur, and bam, you now have an acoustic kitty. This project costed around $20 million. The very first mission was to eavesdrop on 2 men in the park, so they sent the cat over there, and on the cat's way over there, it was hit and killed by a taxi driver. It was declared a total loss, but it was reported there was some success in the project. It was ultimately canceled in 1967 for not being practical enough, and it was too hard to train a cat. So there is a small chance that your cat at home has a microphone in it. I'm not pointing any fingers, I'm just letting you know. Make sure to like and follow for more videos. The most disturbing declassified government documents.
This is not a test. This is your emergency broadcast system announcing the commencement of the annual purge sanctioned by the U.S. government. Weapons of Class 4 and lower have been authorized for use during the purge. All other weapons are restricted. Government officials of ranking 10 have been granted immunity from the purge and shall not be harmed. Commencing at the siren, any and all crime, including murder, will be legal for 12 continuous hours.
Most disturbing declassified government documents. This is 20%. Each video I go up will get worse and worse, so make sure to like and follow to keep up. This is Operation Northwoods. The operation was a list of proposals called for by the CIA to actually commit terrorism against the American military, civilian targets, and then blaming them on the Cuban government. The plan was formed during 1962, which we all know was the Cuban Missile Crisis. Some of the acts they were going to commit were shooting planes down, sinking boats of Cuban refugees, blowing up US ships, and the worst one is probably the mass murders in US cities. Ultimately, the plan was going to happen, and a lot of people in government were behind this, but the only reason it didn't happen is because JFK, the president at the time, said that, no, we're not gonna do it. This just goes to show you how far the government is willing to go to prove a point. I mean, murdering innocent people and then blaming it on Cuba is honestly a new low, so the real question is, what has happened that we don't know of yet? Make sure to like and follow for tomorrow's video. Most disturbing declassified government document. This is 10%. Each video I'll go up, the documents will get worse and worse. So make sure to like and follow to keep up. This is the Space Shuttle Challenger. On January 28th, 1986, the Space Shuttle Challenger exploded in just 73 seconds. If these people look familiar to you, it's probably because you've seen them in photos with disturbing backstories. The crew had a total of 7 people, and when the shuttle exploded, all of them died instantly. Now that was the official story that came out to the public, but that's not what happened. Not even close, actually. When the engineers first started building this shuttle, they literally warned NASA that this was going to happen. But NASA just wouldn't listen, so eventually the engineers gave in and said, all right, whatever. However, it came out a few years later that some of the engineers said they were threatened into saying yes. Well, anyway, after they did their intense investigation, it turns out the cabin never depressurized during the explosion. So what does this possibly mean? This means all 7 crew members were alive and awake during the 3-mile descent into the ocean. Put yourself in their situation. You're looking at your 6 other crewmates and you're all looking at each other rather knowing you're going to burn alive within the next 60 seconds. All in all, NASA lied and said all of the crewmates had an instant death, but that's not the case. They screwed up, they broke protocol, and 7 people faced the consequences for that. Make sure to like and follow for part 2 tomorrow.
The 1970s, the CIA infiltrated the United States. Right after the whole Martin Luther King era, black people were becoming empowered. The US government started to realize their own people were becoming insubordinate. All these huge families of wealthy, rich black people with a lot of power started to fund these movements. So the United States government, they started to ask themselves, how do we crack down on these people?
Mass incarceration.
Mass incarceration. The whole reason why they wanted to crack down on the war of drugs was to control the black populace. They shut down the factories in areas where there were a lot more minorities. What that did was taking away the factories and taking away that education allowed those minorities to have no formal skill set to use in the actual labor force. And they couldn't rely on anything except for drugs. Drugs that were seeded into the communities.
Damn.
And they came out with those policies.
I never heard that, bro. Bro, this is like an insane operation, bro. Think about it. People are rising up. They don't want that to happen. So they shut down their source of income and made them turn to fucking drugs. And by turning to drugs, there's fucking laws against those drugs. And they were able to legally incarcerate them for them turning into that because they had no other place to go.
Movie from 1981.
Huge progress. Let me say that we have been highly effective in conditioning the people's minds to accept our solution to the world's problems. The energy crisis here in the United States was exceptionally successful worldwide, and we expect similar success with our upcoming food shortage. Our labor leaders have made great progress by causing confusion and work stoppages in all areas of the world. The dollar is being devalued even faster than we could have hoped. Politically, the public has lost total confidence in any form of government. As you know, we ourselves do not need to hold any visible office of leadership. As a matter of fact, it's better that we do not. We control the finances, news media, food, transportation, energy. We control everything. If we continue on our present course, it is my opinion that we could present the devil himself as a world leader, and the people would accept him.
There's definitely been conspiracies that have been put together and executed. And these conspiracies have greatly affected the American people. Another one that they were planning on was Operation Northwoods. Yes. Operation Northwoods was one that they were planning on blowing up a drone jetliner, blaming it on the Cubans. They were going to arm Cuban friendlies and have them attack Guantanamo Bay. And they were going to sacrifice American troops and American lives. And they were going to do this in order to get people to be excited about a war with Cuba. This is a real thing that was signed by the Joint Chiefs of Staff. It was released by the Freedom of Information Act, and it was vetoed by Kennedy. So we know that there were people, at least in 1962, that were planning on shit like this.
Yeah.
So that's a real thing. And the idea that that just went away and no one does that anymore.
It's crazy.
I don't believe that. I think there's most certainly evil people in all fucking sectors of life.
Crazy. The CIA had this report, which they did way back in the 80s when they went and trained at the Monroe Institute in astral projection. This report got released, it got declassified, I think, way back in the 90s. But there was this missing page 25. So this was very mysterious. Why is this page gone? And no one knew where it was. And then just a few months ago, they found the page 25. It was suggesting that there were other realities other than our own, a multiverse in effect, and also that you could reach these levels of transcendence that could be potentially tapping into notions of God or wider consciousness. And this is the absolute, your ultimate potential as a divine being.
Part 2 on why you shouldn't trust the government.
She uncovered once classified documents that confirm the spraying of zinc cadmium sulfide. The greatest concentration of this compound was sprayed near the Pruitt-Igoe housing complex just south of downtown St. Louis. It was home to 10,000 low-income people, and an estimated 70% were under the age of 12. Martino Taylor claims they all unknowingly inhaled this compound morning, noon, and night, so the government could measure its effects on their lungs.
So this was in violation of all medical ethics, all international codes, and the military's own policy at that time.
In 1994, then Congressman Richard Gephardt asked the Army to open its records and explain the St. Louis testing.
We want to make very sure that nothing went on that would harm anyone and that all the facts are out on the table.
Documents released in the 90s show the Army placed sprayers on this former Knights of Columbus building.
Let's talk about MK Ultra. This was a secret CIA brainwashing program that started in the 1950s. The CIA successfully figured out how to master the art of mind control. They experimented on sex workers, prisoners, people with terminal illness, and foster children. Many of the subjects had no idea that they were even part of this experiment. They would hypnotize and load these subjects with LSD to see the effects that they had on the mind. They would also torture these subjects nearly to death, which led to trauma-based mind controlling. They figured out that you could fracture a subject's mind so that they would have a split personality disorder. Then they would insert a new mind into the void. They could program you to be an assassin. This was their main objective. They wanted to control people who could kill on command. It's noted that this is why the Manson murders occurred. Charles Manson was at the same prison that they targeted for MK Ultra. Subjects would commit these acts of murder and have no memory or moral compass of what occurred. It's noted that there are many celebrities who are under the influence of MK Ultra. What's even more crazy is that the CIA tried to destroy every document pertaining to MK Ultra. The only reason we know about it is because of the information that was accidentally found on financial documents as well as eyewitness accounts.
Did you guys know that there's an actual CIA unclassified document that explains the law of attraction? This right here is an excerpt from the Gateway Process document. This is 30B that describes the process of manifestation as patterning. The document states this technique involves the use of consciousness to achieve desired objectives in the physical, emotional, or intellectual sphere. And right here it describes that this particular methodology is based on the belief that the thought patterns generated by our consciousness in a state of expanded awareness create holograms which represent the situation we desire to bring about, and in doing so, establish the basis for actual realization of the goal. Not only that, but describes that consciousness is the source of all reality, and our thoughts have the power to influence the development of reality in time-space as it applies to us if those thoughts can be projected with adequate intensity. Literally manifestation described by the CIA.
Do you want to find the truth about what's really happening on Earth? I got you. The CIA has declassified thousands of documents which you could read yourself and become an investigator yourself by just going to the website, and they don't expect you to go and read this stuff. The CIA itself even says on their website you could use this to explore the globe and figure out what's really happening. You just have to ask the right questions. This is how it works. You legit just go to their website, type in something, and you will find documents that have those keywords in it. So you just have to ask the right questions. I read one on space travel and it was so weird. It kept emphasizing how much this was a human journey and how they'd be accompanied by non-human travelers. There's even documents on there admitting to astral projection and studying people with psychic powers. Literally things we're still arguing about and asking if they're real or not, the government is admitting in their documents. Remember, at one point, the masses could not know about this stuff. Take advantage of what the government is giving you and explore these documents. Just remember to ask the right questions. Y'all, check this out. Today, one of you guys sent me a declassified UFO report from Australia with them saying they encountered cat-faced beings and brown-skinned beings. In this report from 1970, it says right here that they came into contact with occupants with cat-like faces and 4 handsome men with brown skin. It also says right here that they were shot at by dwarves, and they also note the technology they were using, which you could check out in the documents, basically just like paralyzing guns and things that mess with their technology. Bruh, this is coming from the government straight up. There's no way around this one. But let's look at something real quick. Let's not forget how cultures and people around the world have reported coming into contact with cat-faced beings and report that they came from the stars. So these cat-faced beings that we've seen throughout history books and were taught throughout school were just myth and legend and made up, may not be myth, legend, and made up after all. So this can be a reality. As humans, we have to reanalyze our whole history because with all this new information coming out recently, it seems like all these stories told by ancient people are actually historical facts. The link to some pieces of this document will be in my Instagram bio if you want to go check that out. You guys might as well follow me there as well because I have content there that we don't have here, and it's kind of like a more closely knit family. But honestly though, think about it. This is a real document, real bare facts from the government themselves. If this is real, how much more is real?
Me exploring C.I.A. documents late at night and find one where they admit aliens have stations throughout the solar system.
In this document, they basically talk about how they want to make space stations to be used as harbors for future spaceships headed toward the moon and other planets. So they're pit stops. They also want to make these stations so that they could study the universe more. Listen to what it says at the beginning. The importance of extraterrestrial stations is discussed.
Yo!
Then when you scroll down, it says the author concludes that extraterrestrial stations are a realistic problem of modern astronautics. But they're not done. They also say the Soviet Union, who pioneered cosmic conquest, moves forward with confidence to fulfill this dream of mankind.
What have I got myself into? And people will still not believe.
Pineal gland has been known to be called the third eye.
Scientists made the exciting discovery that calcite microcrystals exist on the pineal gland, and that these crystals can interact with electromagnetic fields.
Take one slow, steady breath. As you follow your breath and you bring that breath all the way up to that pineal gland, and you hold your breath and you keep your attention on that pineal gland, the act of contracting those muscles would begin to push cerebral spinal fluid right up into your brain. You're pushing that cerebral spinal fluid right up against the crystals of the pineal gland, and then the mechanical stress begins to electrically activate those crystals, and we are turning on the radio receiver in the brain.
Yo, I've been waiting to do this video for a long time, and now here it is. Let's get into it. Alright, so I got 3 theories about Area 51, and I want y'all to listen to all 3 of them. Tell me how y'all feel about them, and let me know if you ever heard these before. So first you got the original theory, the one that we all might have heard of. We all heard that Area 51 could be a holding spot for aliens and other species that occupy this planet. But Area 51 also provides a place for UFOs and aliens that coexist with the 1%, a place to be protected on Earth. It's also filled with private documents, world secrets, and information that is not accessible to the public. And you also have advanced technology that we have never seen and never will see, that was created as a result of the coexistence between the 1%, the elites, and these aliens. See, we all pretty much heard of that one. Let's move on to the next one though. Alright, see here you got theory 2. Theory 2 is with Area 51 being in connection with the hollow earth. Alright, so in this theory, we are the actual aliens. Alright, so here in this scenario, we are the aliens, and Area 51 was created to keep us away from the actual civilization of Earth, inside of the hollow earth. Out of the 3 theories I'm presenting to y'all today, this one is the most furthest away from the truth. But y'all know, just like I do, we can't put nothing past this. Here go my favorite one, the third theory. Me and Ron Spiracies was sitting down and having a deep conversation, and we was actually the first to come up with this theory from what I heard of. Alright, so now we got the third theory. Third theory is the Bermuda Triangle, along with all the other Area 51s all across the world, are connected into the hollow earth. Or that these Area 51s have technology to access other dimensions. I probably didn't even know that there was Area 51s all around the world, but here they are. Just show y'all a few. India got their own Area 51. Of course, Antarctica has its own Area 51. And Australia has its own Area 51 as well. I believe that in some sort of way, all 3 of these theories are the complete makeup of Area 51. Time travel, dimensional travel, aliens, UFOs, everything is stored there. And if y'all remember, just a few months before the pandemic hit, everybody was talking about storming Area 51. Y'all remember? I don't know how scared y'all had them. Y'all don't know how much power y'all had in that moment. Even with everybody joking, some people were serious, but y'all do not understand how much power y'all had. I believe that was part of the reason for the shutdown, because they were so scared that y'all was going to actually raid Area 51. If the raid was successful, we would have opened a whole world of secrets. Over 500,000 people signed a petition to join in the Storm Area 51 raid. Yes, they was nervous, and yes, we all thinking the same thing. It's not just a regular testing site. Y'all go ahead and let me know what y'all think in the comments, and let me know which theory best suits what you think.
So I just found a list of all the most outrageous documents the government has kept a secret from us until recently, and here are some of the best. The United States blatantly stealing a satellite from Russia in 1967, Project MKUltra. The FBI's Bigfoot investigation, that was inconclusive. Confirmation of Operation Paperclip. The secret spies the US had during the Cold War in Alaska, who were just fishermen watching out for Russian paratroopers. The 1960s plan to build a moon base. And my favorite, 1983 trained cat soldiers. That was a multi-million-dollar project for spying on the Soviets. But after quite a few tests in one mission, they shut it down because the cats were really hard to train. Comment what you'd like to hear more about.
Horrible things our own government did. Operation Paperclip was a secret program that the US government put into effect at the end of World War II, where they took Germans and put them in the US and employed them. And most of those were from the Nazi Party. Over 1,600 German scientists, technicians, engineers were brought over and employed by the government. The main reason that they were brought over was to give us a foothold in the Cold War against Russia on the space program and other engineering effects. The reason it was called Operation Paperclip was because an officer would be over in Germany, he would find or recruit somebody that he wanted, and then we put a paperclip on their folder. A whole Nazi V-2 rocket team was put to work in the US. These horrible people were brought to the US. They were given new identities, they were given big salaries for their jobs, and they were letting them live free amongst the US citizens. Truman said that he barred anybody that was in the Nazi Party from coming here, but the intelligence agencies gave them new biographies so they could.
Programs the US government doesn't want you to know about, Part 1. The Willowbrook Hepatitis Experiments. Founded in 1947, the Willowbrook State School was originally built to house 4,000 intellectually disabled children. During their tenure till 1987, they ended up housing at a peak of 6,000 children at a time. During this time, Dr. Saul Krugman from the New York University of Medicine looked towards the school as a way to research into hepatitis, which was a new disease at the time. His experiments were split into two groups. Originally, he would take children that were already in the home and give them antibodies from someone that had already had hepatitis, believing that they're going to get hepatitis anyways, we might as well be able to control it so that we understand that they have a mild case. The second phase of experimentation came by taking children that were new to the home, sending some straight into the home, and others he would inject with the hepatitis to see how it would lead to their immunity while in the home. All of this under the hypothesis that all children were going to be exposed within their first year, with now modern research showing that only 30% of the children in the home would ever end up with hepatitis. They did get parental permission for this experimentation on the children, but all of it was under the guise of giving the kids immunity to hepatitis, not exposing it to them specifically. If you like this video, like and follow me for more. Programs the US government doesn't want you to know about, Part 2, the CIA heart attack gun. In the 1975 testimony to the US Senate on rogue CIA activities, it was revealed that they had created a gun that would shoot a dart towards someone, leaving no trace at all. This dart would shoot from the gun, penetrating any clothing, and leave nothing but a red dot on the skin. It would feel for the target as though they were bitten by a mosquito or nothing at all. Once entering the human body, the dart would disappear, but the poison it was carrying would not. It would quickly go through the bloodstream to the heart, causing a heart attack. As soon as it was done, the poison would then disappear, making it nearly impossible to show up on an autopsy. If you like this, please like the video and follow for more. Programs the US government doesn't want you to know about, Part 3, Operation Popeye. This was a military cloud seeding operation carried out by the US Air Force from 1967 to 1972 during the Vietnam War. This program attempted to extend the monsoon season over various parts of the Ho Chi Minh Trail to disrupt Vietnamese military supplies and cause landslides. The former U.S. Secretary of Defense was aware that there might be objections from the scientific community as a whole, but in a memo to the president stated that such scientific objections were never a basis to halt military actions before. So the program was carried out via the CIA, which was sponsored by the Secretary of State at the time, Henry Kissinger, without the approval of the current Secretary of Defense, who had categorically denied to Congress that such a weather-modifying program was currently in the works. If you like this video, go ahead and like and follow for more. Programs the U.S. government doesn't want you to know about, Part 4, Operation Snow White. Operation Snow White was a criminal conspiracy taking place in the 1970s by the Church of Scientology to purge unfavorable documents about the church and its founder, L. Ron Hubbard. This project included infiltrations and thefts from 136 government agencies, foreign embassies and consulates, as well as private companies that were critical of the church. These were all carried out by 5,000 different operatives in 30 different countries throughout the world. This also exposed the Operation Freakout, because this is what kicked off the United States government's investigation into the church. If you enjoyed this video, go ahead and click like and follow for more content like this. Programs the U.S. government doesn't want you to know about, Part 5, Operation Freakout. Operation Freakout was a covert plan put in place by the Church of Scientology to have U.S. author and journalist Paulette Cooper either imprisoned or placed into a psychiatric hospital. After many years of covert harassment and lawsuits towards Cooper from the church, this plan was put in place to end the threat they saw in Cooper after she published her highly critical book in 1971, The Scandal of Scientology. The original plan had 3 parts, the first of which was that a church member was supposed to call a Middle Eastern consulate in New York City, pretending to be Cooper, and issue various threats to the individuals there. Their second part of their plan was to mail a threatening letter to these consulates, also appearing as if it were to come from Cooper. Their third and final original step was to have a church volunteer go to a laundromat and pretend to be Cooper while issuing threats towards the President Gerald Ford and the at-time Secretary of State Henry Kissinger. They go on to add 3 more steps to the plan, including surveilling her for information, creating a bomb hoax at one of the consulates, as well as lifting her fingerprints to mail a letter to Henry Kissinger. If you like this video, go ahead and like it and follow for more content like this.
Green light was given for the first biological attack on U.S. soil, carried out by the U.S. government itself. On September 20th, 1950, a U.S. Navy vessel steamed across the mouth of the San Francisco Bay. In her hold were millions of gallons of water infested with 2 strains of bacteria, which was pumped out and vaporized through special nozzles. San Francisco was chosen because of its favorable wind conditions and geography. Wind coming in from the ocean would carry the bacteria across the entire city, exactly the type of thing an enemy would seek to do in a real attack. For 30 minutes, the Navy ship sprayed thousands of gallons of infected water into the morning fog, creating 2-mile-long clouds. Carefully monitoring the time of release, temperature, wind speed, and humidity, U.S. agents then collected samples all across the city just to see how far the bacteria were spread by the wind itself. For 1 whole week, September 20th through September 27th, the U.S. government sprayed bacteria into San Francisco, monitoring how widely they were dispersed. A few days after the end of the test, a 75-year-old man named Edward Nevin contracted a urinary tract infection and fell extremely ill. Just a month earlier, he had undergone a successful prostate gland surgery and was well on his way to recovery until the mysterious illness. Running several labs on Nevin, the hospital was shocked to discover Serratia marcescens, an extremely rare bacteria that had never once been recorded in the hospital before. By mid-October, the bacteria had spread to Nevin's heart and he died. Over the next 6 months, 10 more patients were admitted to the hospital with infections caused by Serratia marcescens, though all 10 would recover. A panic ensued as doctors and researchers tried to discover the cause of this sudden outbreak, fearful of a larger event on the horizon. Yet no source could be identified, and thankfully for the people of San Francisco, the small outbreak seemed to disappear just as mysteriously as it had started. The U.S. government, though, took note of the outbreak, conducting its own 4-man investigation into the matter. Their tests were supposed to help discover the best way to protect people from an attack, not to actually make them sick. Government scientists concluded that the bacteria was only fatal in extremely rare circumstances, and only for those with severely weakened immune systems, such as Edward Nevin's. They went on to justify its use and continued testing by saying, "On the basis of our study, we conclude that Serratia marcescens is so rarely a cause of illness, and the illness resulting is predominantly so trivial, that its use as a simulant should be continued, even over populated areas." Thus, government testing of biological agents would continue for 25 years, all conducted in the dark. It wouldn't be until 1969, when Richard Nixon signed a law banning the testing of biological weapons, that the experiments would stop. Yet the public wouldn't even find out about the testing until the mid-70s, a casualty in the US's eagerness to prepare for the worst-case scenario. The death of Nevin was ultimately the only verified link between severe illness or death and the US government's biological testing on its own cities, and in the eyes of a wary military on guard against an attack on its people by an actual deadly microbe, a price worth paying.
Chemical sprays on US cities. In the middle of the 20th century, the United States Army, CIA, and government conducted a series of warfare simulations upon American cities to see how the effects would play out in the event of an actual chemical attack. The CIA released a whooping cough virus in Tampa Bay, causing a whooping cough epidemic that killed at least 12 people. The Navy sprayed San Francisco with bacterial pathogens to see how many people would develop pneumonia, and the Army released millions of mosquitoes in Georgia and Florida to spread yellow fever and dengue fever. The Army then came in disguised as public health workers to study the long-term effects.
Director Deutsch, as a former Los Angeles police narcotics detective, that the agency has dealt drugs throughout this country for a long time. I'll refer you to 3 specific agency operations known as Amadeus, Pegasus, and Watchtower. I have Watchtower documents heavily redacted by the agency. I was personally exposed to CIA operations and recruited by CIA personnel who attempted to recruit me in the late 70s to become involved in protecting agency drug operations in this country. I have been trying to get this out for 18 years, and I have the evidence. My question for you is very specific, sir. If in the course of the IG's investigations and Fred Hitz's work, you come across evidence of severely criminal activity, and it's classified, will you use that classification to hide the criminal activity, or will you tell the American people the truth?
If you have information about CIA illegal activity in drugs, you should immediately bring that information to wherever you want, but let me suggest 3 places. The Los Angeles Police Department.
The Contras were a creation of the CIA. The Contras were dealing drugs in Los Angeles and elsewhere, and that these drug traffickers were meeting with CIA agents. The impact of it was that when you had all this cheap cocaine going into South Central Los Angeles, right at the time people were figuring out how to take this powder cocaine and turn it into crack, you had sort of a collision of historical events. And what happened from that was you had a spread of crack nationwide because the gangs spread nationwide. The gangs, after the LA market got saturated, took this to other cities and set up crack markets in other cities that didn't have them.
I really hope I don't get killed or go missing for making this video, but y'all, the CIA did something and I'm about to expose it. So I just went and secured the bag. So upon asking my friend what this specific strain was called, he goes, oh, it's G13. So me using the greatest gift of Gen Z, I went to Google it all, and bruh, so the CIA, the FBI, and a bunch of other federal agencies decided that they were going to come together and make a truth serum out of all the different indica strains and see if they can make people tell the truth. This was done at a super secret installation at the University of Mississippi. But mind you, this was in the 1960s, and they birthed so many hybrids that we are known and smoked today that are really famous. And not only that, since everything about the CIA has been coming to light, this is true. So I really do think that it's time we release everybody in jail for weed right now, because the government literally made their own strain.